It's Thursday, November 17th, 2022. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight, we're talking about Chinese food. So, once we get past the point where it's too cold to bike and it gets dark early because we stupidly leave daylight saving time and go back to bad time, there's this period between when I can ski and when I can't bike. And while there's some hiking and a little bit of camping I can do there, really would like it to just dump a bunch of snow and I could just go right into ski season. So it turns out, upstate New York, right now, if you don't live in the northeast of the U.S., you probably won't even know this is happening. What is on track to be one of the larger snowstorms in New York State history is about to hit Buffalo and Rochester, and it's not even going to bring a whisper to the other parts of New York State, from what I can tell.
I mean, it's good the top parts and not the bottom parts.
Yep, not even the top parts. Only the western parts, because this is not cold snow. This is lake effect snow, so it's only along the lake and nowhere else.
Yeah, you know, that's how it goes.
Yep. But based on the reporting I'm seeing today, they're projecting what might be, if the projections are true, it's going to be one of the largest snowfalls in that region in recorded history.
Potential historic lake effect snowstorm hammering Buffalo up to 3 or 4 feet expected.
That would be cool, because I would like to have an excuse to not go anywhere.
Up near the top parts of New York also, but near the lake up there, right? Because
Yep. You know what it's not hitting? Any of the ski mountains in New York State. Not even close.
There should be some mountains. You got to go way up there.
I mean, there really aren't mountains by the lakes. The mountain, like Hunter Mountain, and then when you head further north, you're going to start going into other states.
Check my map here. There's no mountains up by what is this?
Yeah. Remember, do you remember at any point at RIT? Because even when I was poor, I would ski if I could. I never really went skiing, did I? There is no skiing anywhere near RIT.
You didn't have any money.
Even if I did, there's nowhere to ski. And also, you can get into ski resorts real cheap or free if you know what you're doing.
There might be some snow if you go up to Saranac area, Lake Placid area.
But Hunter Mountain is not.
It won't be as much as it is down low, but lakes are low, right? They're down.
Yep.
But
also this specific storm is going to be lake effect snow, and lake effect storms are very regional, and this is a traditional storm that happens over that specific lake between Michigan and New York.
That's what happens.
Yep. So in the news, the American midterm elections happen, and in an interesting twist, for those of you who aren't Americans, of course, American voters are by and large fickle, kind of stupid, random. Never mind all the gerrymandering and evil that happens, but there's a trend that is so common and so repeatable that it is like a conventional wisdom. Whenever we have a president who is elected in one of our major elections, which happen every 4 years, no matter what party that president is, the issues literally don't matter. Whatever party they are not in will invariably win Congress in the midterm election that happens between those 4-year elections. So every 2 years, we have a midterm election.
Right. So the basic logic is that, basically people who are voting are always cranky. You don't get a lot of happy voters who are saying things are great. That's pretty rare for things to be great, right? When have things been great? What year? What year was that when everyone felt that everything was awesome?
I mean, no year that I was alive.
Right. No year. So basically whoever's president, right, gets, from people who are, even people who are paying attention and understand how government works, even those people psychologically give credit and blame to the president, even though
it's unwarranted. Like, the president doesn't control gas prices, but yet that's a specific thing people get mad about in America.
Right. So when people vote, it's like, there are some people who actually, say, well, these are my policies. This is what I believe in. And this is the party that most closely matches that, and I'll vote for them. And there are some people who just basically have some other logic, name recognition.
Yep.
Who knows what their logic is, right? And a common logic is, I'm upset. This party, this color is in charge, and I don't like the way the world is now, so I'm going to vote the other color. And then when that one's in charge and it sucks, they'll vote the other color. They keep doing this. And it's like, can you actually meet an individual who will tell you that that's what they believe? Maybe not. But if you look at the voting results, that pattern is there. Right?
You know, funnily enough, we were doing some work training, and at work I'm getting trained on like data science, and it's actually like really easy stuff I already knew, but this is like broad training for a lot of people. And the API and the model we used as an example in the course was predict who someone will vote for based on factors, and the lab guides you to the fact that zip code and race is literally all that matters.
I mean, population density, but that's zip code, right?
That's zip code.
Yeah. But yeah, so it currently the president is Democrat, therefore it would be expected in this election, right? You know, just the way things go, for there to be a shift to the red side when the blue side is in charge. That's right. It's the same thing happened, right? When Republicans are president, the next election, shift over to the blue side.
Yep.
Right?
And we're talking like in our house, which has over 400 seats, like for you non-Americans, a shift of like plus 30 or plus 40 seats in the opposite direction. These are usually big shifts. So America went into this election in our usual, you know, existential crisis, on the verge of just falling apart into chaos and civil war and whatever. And the Democrats actually lost almost nothing. They barely are losing the House. This was like they still lost the House.
They are losing it, so it's lost, but they're losing it by like a handful, right?
Yep.
And that handful, if, you know, New York specifically hadn't had some gerrymandering drama, they might not have lost the House.
Oh yeah, we could have held the House.
I mean, and it also bears repeating, even though everyone knows this already, that without gerrymandering, the Democrats would never lose the House ever. Like, if you just count the total number of votes, right, and did a proportional representation in the House, the Democrats would be way.
I mean, without gerrymandering on the state level, America would have the Democrats, who are like the center-right party, and some other minority party that was the left party. The right wing would barely.
But the point is that, you know, even though there was the shift to the red side as expected, and it was much less than expected in terms of the real results that matter, the vast majority of the people voting, well, I don't know vast, but the majority of the people voting voted blue.
Actually, in this election, a slight majority voted red. It's just there's been a separate change. Yeah, there's been a separate change. Districts that are already safely red are getting redder and redder and redder. Like, right-wing people get all of the votes. And meanwhile, the blue districts, like in New York City, Republicans made huge gains. But if you look at the map,
only in South Brooklyn,
in 3 neighborhoods, North Brooklyn in one specific neighborhood, South Brooklyn in another specific neighborhood, and Staten Island.
Right.
Nowhere else.
We got to understand those neighborhoods are the kind of places that, you know, voted Democrat, but they were voting for people like Cuomo, right?
Yeah.
Like, they are the kind of people who, you know, well, Staten Island was full of Trumpy people, right? So that's different, right? But South Brooklyn is full of the kind of person who, you know, it's like, you know, you imagine when you go to those neighborhoods, right? Obviously, you know, I'm not going to stereotype everyone who lives in those neighborhoods because it's very
biking through those neighborhoods, a lot of Trump flags for one.
Right, but just like the rest of New York City, right? You know, those neighborhoods are very diverse, but the feeling of those neighborhoods, and I guess a large portion of the population there, are like what you might imagine as like an old New Yorker, right? Some old Brooklyn mafia guy, or, you know, some old Russian guy. Right? That's what I think of when I think of those neighborhoods.
Or tight-knit insular religious communities that vote as a block.
Well, that's the northern Brooklyn.
Yep. Who this election mostly went Republican.
Yeah, I mean, they have for always.
Yep.
But the thing is, those people would vote, you know, Democrat when they saw a person like, you know, an Andrew Cuomo, who is a lot like them, right, as the person to vote for, right? But, and, you know, against, say, you know, like they would prefer a Cuomo to a Trump, that sort of, right, demographic, right? But when you have like a woman running for governor, that kind of demographic is going to be like, right? Because they're still misogynist and whatnot, or sexist and all those other things, right? And so then, you know, that kind of person, especially, you know, who's watching the news too much and believing all the lies about crime rates and all what nonsense, right?
Yep.
That person then would vote for, I guess, the person who thankfully will not be the governor of New York, Zeldin, who is basically a Trump guy pretending not to be.
Yep, the whole narrative for all the people outside of the city in this state was basically crime is high, therefore we should go full fascist, and that was kind of Zeldin's actual message.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's always the message,
Yep,
right?
but he was polling so well.
We've had strong, it's like, there's no logic to it, right? It's simply, it's a straight appeal to emotion and, the simplicity, right? It's like, and it's been going on for decades and decades.
But there's so many things wrong with it. It's not even just, crime is not actually historically up by these wide margins.
First of all, the first thing you have to say, you got to realize, is that when the politicians come out and say crime is high, right? They don't mean crime is high. What they're saying is black, right? That's what they're saying, right? They're saying black is high, right? It's like they're saying vote for me, right? I am white, and I will have more police and take care of.
But also,
people,
even if somehow crime were really high, they're also saying we're just going to flood the streets with cops and make everyone's lives worse. They're not actually going to do anything about crime.
Well, I think the problem is that people, I think even people on the left, right? Just not the extreme left like us, right? It's like people just sort of have this, they don't think about it too hard, right? They don't investigate it. They're not taught it, right? They just sort of have this, really simple logic of like, there is crime, therefore police. The same way you would think there's fire, therefore water. Or there's a mess, therefore paper towels.
But whereas if something's on fire, a firefighter will come and put that fire out and try to help you.
The problem is that very simple logic, right? Is like, yes, water does put out fires. Yes, paper towel does clean up.
But police don't put out crime.
Don't solve crime. It's just a wrong thing, right? Is people don't realize that that's wrong, and it's very hard to convince someone that's wrong because it's such a basic ingrained thing.
Like there was an incident that just happened recently in New York City where someone got attacked on the subway. While that's very rare, it's not zero. And there was a cop there on the platform. Cop didn't do shit. Cop just cleaned up after it was over. He didn't help anybody.
Police don't prevent crimes, right? They just don't. What if everyone in society was a cop? It's like, would there still be crime? It's like we've spent billions and billions of dollars on cops. They're already everywhere, and crime goes up. It's obvious that if cops worked, there wouldn't be crime.
Even worse, people talk about how, they show up, they deal with the fallout from crime, the side effects of crime, they investigate crime, they solve crime. No, they don't. The rate at which major crimes are solved has not risen with increased police at all in America anywhere.
No. But anyway, the point is that racist people will campaign, right, on crime. The media will corroborate because television, all they have to show on nightly news is crime, right? And it's like, in New York City, even if the crime rate is low, it's like there will be a handful of crimes every day, even if we reduced crime. And New York's already has less crime and is safer than most other places there are, period.
Yeah.
It's just that the rate is so low, but the population is so high, there's always going to be some crime to report on. So if you watch New York nightly news, no matter what year it is, no matter what the crime rate is, they've got crime stories to lead, right? That will terrify people who are watching the news, right? And convince them to vote for some candidate who comes out and says, yeah, crime's a problem. The news isn't doing it because they want a particular candidate, at least in most cases. Some cases they do. But the news is doing it because that's what drives ratings, right? And it hurts our whole society in this way. And notice as soon as the day the election's over, crime's not a problem anymore. Right?
Yep.
Suddenly crime is not, right? It's like the news is still showing those stories, but the politicians aren't talking about it anymore the day after the election.
Except our piece of shit mayor who, after the election, announced he's going to end all cash bail reforms because that is, quote, why the Democrats lost upstate.
Well, that's it. Right. It's whatever. We could talk about that all day.
Yeah. But there's something else that happened that I think is real important to touch on briefly. In New York State, we lost a seat in the House because the state is losing population. Let's not get into the fact that the census was not run very well.
Yeah, who knows if we really lost population or not.
But the city gained population. The state overall lost population. But the state could gerrymander itself. We could draw the districts in New York State to where there is one Republican and everyone else is a Democrat. We kind of tried to. That got thrown out by the courts, by the judges who were appointed by Cuomo.
Well,
supported by Cuomo, appointed by Republicans.
Okay, so New York, rightly, I guess in principle at least, right, has some rules to prevent, horrific gerrymandering.
Most blue states do, and most red states don't.
Right. If every place had those rules, it would be all good. But basically, they handcuffed themselves into having these rules in the first place. So that's mistake number one, right? And then mistake number two was, it's like, okay, they went to go and follow the procedures that, that were within the law that they created, right? And they tried to push it as far as they could, but because that law was there, they couldn't push it that far.
Yep.
And what Rim just said is that, it was up to some judges to decide. And Cuomo, a Democratic governor, the previous governor, right, who, was forced to resign because he was such a piece of shit, he put even though he's a Democrat, he put in Republican judges, right? That's why those South Brooklyn people were okay voting for him.
Yep.
Because he was that kind of person. Right?
So basically, New York State might be the reason the Democrats didn't somehow hold the House. We're going to find out soon.
It was like a couple seat tilt. The fact that, New York didn't gerrymander as hard as it could have, right? Could have gotten an extra seat or a few, which would have tilted the entire country.
Yeah, but to put this to a positive light, the thing you should take away is not New York State drama. Like, New York State, we got to sort this out. And I think it's doable because there aren't that many. It's not that often there'll be a Zeldin-like figure that can drag voters who normally don't vote in the state to the polls. But this was actually a huge victory for democracy and for Democrats. The fact that we're holding on to the Senate and we're holding on to enough power to where the Republicans can't fuck things up too badly over the next 2 years. And it seems like the primary reason this happened is a lot of swing states went pretty hard blue. A lot of swing districts went pretty hard blue. The primary reason was abortion. Trying to ban abortion nationally, they pushed too far, and the backlash was real.
Yeah. People don't care about, the thing. If Republicans are doing evil shit, Trump doing evil shit when he was president, right? And it wasn't going to change people's votes if he was, running, genocide camps for, migrants crossing the border down south, because those people who were voting for Trump are unaffected by that, other than they see it on the news. And when they see it on the news, they kind of like it because they're sadistic and evil, right?
Right.
But if the Republicans actually do something that impacts people's lives in a noticeable way, directly, immediately, right? Then that's that's gonna turn people out.
Yep.
Right? So gas prices turn people out, and abortion's gonna turn people out.
So don't walk away.
Can do whatever you want. As if you're running the country, it's like you don't have to follow your principles or what you said, because only nerds who are paying attention to politics pay attention to that or care, right? But to get the votes of the mass populace, the things that affect their everyday lives, right? Or that they believe affect their everyday lives, like crime.
So I want you to take away from this election that this was actually a surprising victory and a hopeful one. Like this puts us in a way better position than a lot of people expected. Do not buy into a media narrative that Democrats fucked this up or are somehow in disarray. The Democrats honestly did the best that anyone's ever done in this kind of situation before in all of American history.
Mm-hmm.
So you got any news? Taylor Swift?
Well, it's not Taylor Swift's news, right? Yeah. News, right? So Taylor Swift came out with the album, right? Yep. People love it. I don't even listen to it. I don't really care.
I will.
Deal. If you like it, good for you. Congrats. Anyway.
Congrats. This reminds me of way back. I met some coworker's kid, and the kid was like, I was like, "Oh, how old are you?" And the kid was like, "I'm 7." And I was like, "Oh, congratulations, good job." And everyone was like, "Wait, what? Good job."
People who are like, they're like huge, huge fans. Like this is like a big deal for them.
They call themselves Swifties.
Congratulations.
And no, we're not talking about the Global International Payments Network.
There are people like Swifties are like, actual like people in the fan club, like big time, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, Taylor Swift's music goes beyond just the fan club. It's right. It's like everybody, right? At least almost everybody. Anyway, The point is that she's going on the tour, right? And the tickets go on sale. So obviously is going to be, big time packing, right? It's like you got people reloading, you got your freaking scalpers. You got
it's same as PAX. We've talked about this a million times. The unsolvable problem.
Right. No matter, right. So beyond the unsolvable problem, right? The fact is that Ticketmaster during the pre-sale, right? In which case, the pre-sale is basically it's on sale, but you need a special code, but everyone fucking knows the code, right? So it's basically when it's on sale, right? When the tickets go on sale, so many people hit Ticketmaster, it went down, right? Because it's not that great. And now you can go, and I think even John Oliver had a thing about Ticketmaster, but like there are so many places if you want to read about what's wrong with Ticketmaster, you can read and learn everything that's wrong with them, right? All the problems with scalping and how most of the tickets don't even get to the Ticketmaster. They're already sold or sectioned off for other people, and how Ticketmaster is a monopoly, and obviously antitrust would go a long way towards solving that problem. And such and such and such, right? But Ticketmaster went down, and now basically there's going to be the real sale is going to come. But the real sale, first of all, most of the tickets are already gone. There's like not many left because they were all in the pre-sale, which is the real sale, right? It's like, but there were, there's supposed to be a time at which they're just on sale with no code necessary for the people who couldn't look on Twitter and find the code. Okay. So, but they're going to cancel that because like we can't handle the number of people who are going to come in, and there's almost no tickets left anyway, right? There's like going to be 1 million people trying to fight over like 20 tickets per showing or whatever concert, right? So they just canceled that whole thing, and now that's a big deal, right? People are upset about that. Now the thing I want to say about Ticketmaster that I think a lot of people don't realize in this discussion, right, is that forgetting about all the issues that everyone already knows about and have already been discussed to death, the issue that is not discussed to death is that Ticketmaster, the company, their customer is not people who are buying tickets. Their customer is not even the scalpers, even though they are very friendly with the scalpers who are going to, run their bots and buy all the tickets and get margins and whatever, right? Ticketmaster's only customer are venues. Buildings in which concerts, sports, theater, and other major events that are ticketed happen. That is the only person that Ticketmaster gives a fuck about, right? Because as they get with those venues, the venues sign an exclusive contract, right? And now Ticketmaster doesn't give a shit about anything that happens after that because, number one, as long as the events happen in the venues and the venue is running itself, the tickets will get sold. Right? Someone is going to see that concert, right?
Yep.
And how many people see the concert has no relation to which ticket vending service the venue has chosen. And Ticketmaster will get a cut of all those tickets no matter what. It's like, it doesn't fucking matter if they provide a good service or a bad service, or if buying the tickets is nice or convenient, or if it's a pain in the ass, right? It doesn't matter, right? The Taylor Swift concert in that venue will sell out no matter if it was Ticketmaster, Eventbrite, Telecharge, Scott Rubin's ticket company. Doesn't fucking matter, right? Those tickets will get sold, and the company that sells the tickets will get a service charge on every ticket sold. End of story. So Ticketmaster, all they have to do, the only people that they have to sell to are the venue, to convince the venue to sign an exclusive deal with Ticketmaster and not with somebody else.
Now, if you think the venues have any interest in altering this arrangement, well, we've been through this before. Pearl Jam had a huge public fight with Ticketmaster over the same issue back when I was in like middle school. And guess what? Fucking nothing happened.
Right. Okay, so as soon as Ticketmaster gets that deal signed with the venue, they have that pile of money from that venue for the term of that deal. The end. The rest of it, nothing else matters, right? As long as Ticketmaster gets the tickets sold and stays up enough, right, and provides enough service to sell the tickets, they're good, right? Doesn't matter how shitty it is as long as it gets the tickets sold. So what would convince a venue to leave Ticketmaster? Well, Ticketmaster would have to fuck up so royally that the tickets don't get sold, right? It's like, why is this Taylor Swift thing that should be full only half full because your site's been down that much? That would be a problem. That will never happen. Ticketmaster stays up enough for that to not happen. All right. What else could convince a venue to leave Ticketmaster? Well, you would have to have a competitor to Ticketmaster, right? That can less service charge. That way the venue keeps more money, right? Money talks, right? But B, your new service has to be proven, right? Their venue's not going to take a risk, right? They know Ticketmaster is a safe bet. So your thing has to be proven to work, right? As proven as Ticketmaster is, which is, you might say, not very proven, but it's like they got the ticket sold.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to be, the venue's not going to take any risks, right? That if they switch to you and piss off Ticketmaster and can't go back to them, that not all the tickets will get sold.
And not just got all the tickets sold, but handled all the logistics related to how those tickets are redeemed.
That's the last thing, right? Is that people think, when they think about ticketing, they're just thinking about the base problem, right? There are X tickets, each one is unique. You have to distribute them and price them and whatnot and show a seat map and the basic, right? That part. There are so many edge cases in the ticketing business of things that happen behind the scenes and front on the side. Different venues have different requirements, laws and regulations in different states. Just so many fucking different things you have to deal with. People returning tickets, someone wants to sell it's so handy, tickets for people with disabilities in special areas, right? There's so many edge cases that you have to deal with. And Ticketmaster, having been in the business so long and having control of every venue, already handles 100% of those use cases. All of them. That's why behind the scenes, I've seen Ticketmaster systems behind the scenes. They're garbage because it's some conglomerate, it's some mess of duct tape and old bad code. But that piece of shit old system, it handles every use case, all of them. Every single use case is handled. So your competing system has to handle 100% of the use cases. If you handle 99% of the use cases and you go to a venue and that use case might be ultra rare. It happens like once a year, right? But Ticketmaster handles it. It'll just work. And you don't have code for that yet because you haven't been in this business 100 years and you don't have a code base with, decades of institutional knowledge in it. They're not going to go with you. They're going to go with something that doesn't meet all their needs, right? Yep. So you have to meet more use cases that Ticketmaster, or at least as many. And even if you did that, it's like, okay, we do everything that Ticketmaster does, and we've proven that we're reliable, and right, we're going to charge you less money than Ticketmaster does. First of all, how is it even possible for a new company to do all those things?
Yep. I mean, there's the secondary market companies that even they're struggling to get into that secondary market.
Right. It's like there is no way to convince a venue to go with you, right? So obviously the antitrust thing would be good, right?
I think that's the only way to solve this would be government action, which with our current structure is impossible.
I think, right. Well, yes, maybe. But I think, yes, a government action, but not just an antitrust government action. I think you simply need a government action that says that clearly defines the process and procedures, right, for selling tickets, right, when there is an event. It's like, you may not, right, it has to specifically prescribe, like, you can't set aside tickets. Every seat in the venue must be made publicly, right? You can't,
I don't think such measures would be popular among even just regular people who want to go to events.
Well, I think you could, it depends what they are, right? You have to be very careful with this, and it's going to have to be really complicated, right? You're going to have to worry about all different kinds of events and different venues, right? But you can at least have some more, guidelines, right? Where it's like, basically the way tickets are sold is completely, defined by Ticketmaster and the venues. The people putting on the shows, right? They just decide amongst themselves what's best for them, and the ticket buyer has no input on the process of ticket distribution, right? So the government simply has to come in as the representative of the people and be the input on.
Well, you know what? You know what it's like?
Our say, as the people who attend the events, we should have some say in the method of ticket distribution.
It should be a lot like the passenger bill of rights that we can't actually fully realize with airlines.
That's a similar thing, right? Yeah. The airlines run the airlines and the airports the way they want to, but there is an FAA that does put.
But the
some
government should come in with a little heavier hand, and they should say things like, if you bump someone involuntarily, you owe them like $100,000. Fuck you.
Right. You know, make it so that like, yes, you have to, if the demand for the show is too high, you have to use some sort of random allotment system, right? You can't take a greater percentage of the tickets in the total venue space and set them aside for VIPs or whatever, right? You have to let the public in, right? If you're going to sell tickets to the public, you know, you can't just sell them to yourself as like, right, the service charges can only be so high, right? All these kinds of rules you can put in there, and that would go a long way towards fixing it because
well, the problem is there's no actual incentive for anyone to fix this. Nobody cares about this enough to vote because of it. Nobody is willing to say, well, fuck that. I won't go see Taylor Swift if they're a Taylor Swift fan. They're just going to suck it up.
Exactly.
So
do whatever
the venues will literally never talk about this issue because the last thing they want is any complication or disruption. The artists...
Well, the one thing that could disrupt them that has come close to happening, right, is taxes, right? Ticket taxes. They are terrified of ticket taxes.
Why do you think so many nerd conventions have memberships and badges, but they don't have tickets?
Sure, but the point is that there have been lots of discussions in like state legislatures. Remember New York, maybe a decade-ish ago, I want to say, right? Is like there was almost going to be some, big ticket event tax coming down, and they were like, fuck. They sent the lobbyist army out because if that went through, that would have shut down several ticket-based businesses, basically, right? So because, the margin goes down or the price goes up, and then it's like, some middleman who's taking a cut is now suddenly out because everyone else needs to get their, right?
Now, of course, there is the underlying problem that the only reason there's a middleman taking a cut on secondary market, scalping, all of that is because the demand is higher than supply and the price is lower than the price point people are willing to pay.
Mm-hmm.
And that is an unsolvable problem.
Even if they raise the prices to what people are willing to pay just from the outset, right? You're still going to have, these systems of unfair distribution because it's like, you can't raise it's like, okay, we'll make the Taylor Swift tickets $1,000. That's still not.
They'd still sell out.
Right. It's like 3,000. It's like it's like, you're either going to, there's no line you can draw where either there's more people that will pay the ridiculous price than there are seats. Or once you get too high, it's like, okay, well now you can't even, it's almost like there's a single dollar line. It's like,
well, there actually is. And that's why one thing you could do, this would be
on that line, you go from complete sellout to like half empty. Cause it's like, okay, I'll pay 4,000, but like 5,000, it's like, no one can afford that.
Well, that's why you do one of those auction styles where the first 10 tickets are $10,000 each, and if they don't get sold, the allotment grows to 20, and the price drops to $9,999, and it just slowly ticks down until they're all sold.
I think some system like that, but you'd have to remove the waiting and the work, right? Everyone would just go and type in, right, the amount they're willing to pay, and then the system would just do it and email you whether you got tickets.
But then, of course, only rich people ever go to any major event again, ever. But it's already kind of like...
There's only so many Ferraris made every year. Only rich people drive them. It's not any different, right? There are plenty of other events that are less popular.
I mean, meanwhile, I'm going to see... Emily and I are going to go see Perov Stellar in concert in like February in New York.
Is it sold out?
It was not sold out over the weekend when I checked, and tickets were like $50. Like, GA.
That's not some huge show. It's
I basically generally avoid huge things. The only huge thing I'll go to regularly is hockey, and we just have season tickets that we share. So
half a season, a shared half a season, because an actual season would be
well. As much as I love hockey, I could not use an entire season.
We would need some more people in on it.
Yeah, we would. That would be. I like hockey, but I don't like hockey enough to go to every home game. If I was
retired, I could do it.
Oh yeah, if I can retire, if a world exists where I can retire, I absolutely would love to be the kind of old New York guy who has a Rangers season ticket. I don't even care. It could be a terrible ticket. Just go to every home game. Be the guy where people recognize my voice because I'm in the back.
Economically, you would
be an usher.
You would buy them last second tickets on the secondhand market, right?
Yeah, but I'm an old man. I don't have.
That would never get you into like the crowded, sold out games. That
Exactly.
would get you into, you know.
Plus, you want to be the old man who's been sitting in the same seat for 20 years, and like people around you know how annoying you are.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
All right, put the marker there. But anyway, things of the day. So I got to step through a little history for this thing of the day because I'm going to link to first. This was like a TikTok meme from not even that long ago. Get the fuck out of here. And it's just this little like short video that was kind of funny.
I didn't see the meme until Rim sent it to me.
I did not see the meme. I did not know the meme existed. Okay. I started playing Disco Elysium. And one of the most popular videos about Disco Elysium is actually a meme where someone has recreated that TikTok meme in Disco Elysium with the characters in a way that makes sense to the characters. And it's really well done. But my thing of the day is someone has taken the concept of the meme and galaxy brained it into the test chamber from the opening scene of Half-Life 1 very well. It is funny on its own. If you understand the meme, it makes sense. If you understand Half-Life, it makes sense, and that is my thing of the day.
This would be like if we never did, you know, the original steamed hams, and we just went straight to a steamed hams variation of the first thing of the day.
We are already 2 transformations deep from the original meme.
Right.
So what do you got?
Okay, my thing of the day. So, you know, we got a problem in that we have a thing of the day policy of not using things of the day from the same source like repeatedly.
Oh my God. Otherwise, PBS SciShow would have been my last 20.
Yeah. But we have another problem in that, you know, magicians are, you know, doing amazing magic tricks, right? Are an often somewhat frequent source of things of the day, even since early days of Geek Nights, because, you know, nerds like magic, right? But the problem is that there's really only one major, like, big platform for magicians to get attention on a large scale these days, which is a single television show, Penn and Teller's Fool Us, right? And that's why that show, it's just like some show on CW, but like it's still going, right? That show's been going on for a long ass time. It's still going on, and it's like, yes, because it's like not like back in the day where you could be David Copperfield and get your own special, or be Penn and Teller and get your own TV special that stands alone. That doesn't happen anymore, right? The only way for a magician to get like larger and more well-known, right, is to be on that show, right? And that's, I think, largely why the show exists, and it's a good thing the show exists. But the problem is, anything in the day we do of a magician is probably gonna be them on that show. But one good thing the show does that I like a lot is when people appear on that show, the show lets them post a video clip of their performance on their own YouTube channel. Right?
Yep.
So if I were to go on the show somehow, even though I can't do any magic tricks whatsoever, not even fucking cupping balls.
I mean, you can do magic tricks on the level of my thumb disappeared.
Maybe, yeah. I'm not even that good at that one. Then I would then be able to legally post the video of me on that show on the Geek Nights YouTube channel, right? They would let me legally do that on purpose, right? And so that's like, if you go on YouTube and you search for Fool Us, you start seeing results from all these different magicians' channels. So this particular one, someone posted in the forum I hadn't seen before. I've seen a lot because I've gone down the rabbit hole of YouTube.
I was sold on this individual within 15 seconds of their opening video on their channel.
Yeah. I've watched, you know, I've gone on YouTube and just watched Fool Us performances for like an hour at some point, right? Just seeing a whole bunch of them, especially the ones that fool them, because those are the better ones.
Oh, yeah.
But this one I hadn't seen. Someone posted it in our forum, which you should go to. And it is a card magician, primarily a card magician, named Dani daortiz from Mexico. And this guy is, I think, supposedly, and I believe it, the best living card magician, right? Like, he was an apprentice of some other legendary card magician, and has somehow, the apprentice has surpassed the master. I don't know if the master's still alive. He was an old guy. But, like, they say that, like, from the age of 4, Dani studied under this guy. Right? And it's like, I believe it. It seems true. There's evidence. There's photos of them together. But this is just like a really happy, jolly dude. And usually when I watch magic, I can sort of guess how they did it, have some idea how they did it, right? I have no fucking clue. Right? The YouTube comments don't know how he's doing it, right? I don't know what the fuck this was going on here. This guy just like makes a big mess out of the cards. There's no way that he like kept them in order or sorted them, and then somehow it's just like unbelievable. Whatever. But yeah, this guy's supposedly the best living card magician. I believe it. So watch it. Watch his YouTube video. The thing of the day is his whole YouTube channel. And by the way, if you pay him money, he has like courses. He'll just teach you how to do these tricks. So I guess people know how they're done. But I'm not about to pay to find out because, you know.
If I didn't have a day job, absolutely I would.
The only thing I think I would use magic for if I learned it, because I wouldn't go into a career in magic.
No. You know what I would use it for? I would use it to do little simple tricks like at a gaming table while we're setting up a board game, like close-up magic for one person.
Right. I would do it for the social aspect of it, right? It's like I'm waiting in a line, you know, and it's like impress the people nearby, right?
Yeah.
Traveling in a foreign country, impress the children, right? It's like that's, I think, you know, the level of magic that I would ever consider putting effort into learning. But really impressive magic takes too much effort, and I'm lazy.
In the meta moment, the GeekNights Book Club book, A Leaf the Unseen. I am going to start reading it this weekend because Scott admitted that he read at least one page.
I have not read any further. I read the one page.
A Leaf the Unseen is a Middle Eastern cyberpunk adventure, and that's all you really need to know to know that you should probably read this book. Like,
it's like you don't even need to say all those words to get us to read the book, right? You can just say a few of them.
Yep. In an unnamed Middle Eastern security state, a young Arab Indian hacker protects watched groups from surveillance and tries to stay out of trouble. Until he falls in love with the wrong woman and unleashes a forbidden text thought to be written by the jinn.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh yeah, I love me a good jinn story. Also, we will be live at PAX Unplugged on Sunday, December 4th at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time in the Crab God Theater with Why Is This Game Taking 4 Hours to Play? Updated to maybe reduce.
Drive to Philly, and
Yep.
we're gonna drive back in the same day.
Yep.
Barring no unforeseen circumstances like, you know, a positive COVID test the day before, or
Yep.
anything like that. You know.
So if you want to see us there, see us on Sunday. We will not be at PAX other days. Also, partly because even if we wanted to, all the hotels are sold out, so we really have nothing. So we're just going to drive out and drive back. Mm-hmm. And I guess I will not be at ZenkaiCon. I actually planned to be at ZenkaiCon next year.
You mean 2023 ZenkaiCon?
Yeah, 2023 ZenkaiCon. I had panels all lined up. I even have a hotel. I wasn't paying attention because I only look at the PAX that is the most... the upcoming PAX, the next one.
Yeah,
so
the on-deck PAX.
PAX East does not exist in my brain until December 5th. And yeah, PAX East overlaps ZenkaiCon, so sorry. That sucks.
Yeah,
I really like
PAX East
ZenkaiCon.
tickets just went on sale. They're March something. You can look it up.
Yep.
It's still 4 days. They're going to require masks thoroughly, but they are no longer requiring vax.
Which
make
kind of
that what you will.
It sadly kind of makes sense because I got to say, having just gotten my physical, New York State's database just doesn't fucking work anymore. There is no record of any of my boosters.
No. Anyway,
My doctor was like, WTF? And then he looked, he's like, they don't have mine either.
All right. Well, anyway.
Yep. Otherwise, of course, since in the collapse of Twitter, follow us on other places. Our Discord's cool. Our forum's cool. You can even subscribe to my crap on Mastodon, but don't at me. I won't see it. It's a one-way feed. Like, we got stuff. Go find it.
Yep. We're not hard to find on the internet no matter how many platforms collapse. We still have our own websites.
Yep. I've been through...
I'm going to be making some more websites soon. I'm working on making websites. GeekNights website, Scott website, all kinds of website.
Yep. I got Rim.
Website.
I got Rim.social.
That doesn't get copyrighted except by lawyers.
All right. So I guess let's just get right into it. Put a little marker there in the audition for the main bit. We did a show.
Order my dinner right now.
Oh, yeah.
Which
Good
happens
timing.
to be Chinese food.
We did a show back in June of 2018 on Indian food. We've done many food shows over the years. We're going to talk about Chinese food tonight. So, of course, the most important disclaimer, we're two white dudes who live in New York. We are not experts on Chinese cuisine in any capacity. We're working from what we know about it and skimming Wikipedia, and we're mostly focused on our personal enjoyment and experiences with Chinese food.
Right, well, actually, I have in my time studied the history of Chinese food briefly and attended and many actually more than one museum exhibit about the history of Chinese food in America, right? I specifically even went to the food museum the entire place, which is only really, it's not that big. It's like a garage, like a large garage, but the whole thing was a special Chinese food in America deal. And I spent a lot of time there, but despite having all that knowledge, I am not a source for you to attain that knowledge.
Yeah.
We can just summarize and say basically, Chinese immigrants came to the U.S. primarily in California, were very much, persecuted, discriminated against, etc. Right, and ended up, starting businesses selling Chinese food, but it wasn't the Chinese food the way it was made in China, right? It was an Americanized version of Chinese food, differing because of, the palates of American people, their expectations, all sorts of factors.
Just access to ingredients.
Availability, yes. Various reasons, they created what was a new-ish style of food, right? A newish restaurant aesthetic, right? That, sort of simultaneously, played into the racism, right? And the stereotypes, right? While also providing something that was different and still delicious, but not authentic necessarily to the food that is eaten in various parts of China, which is, you can't even really say Chinese food as a thing, because every different part of China has different food. Right?
And they are radically different. Like the food that comes from the parts of China near Mongolia is so different from like Sichuan food or the Chinese food you're probably imagining in your head.
Same way, like you can call McDonald's American food, and it's like, yes, McDonald's is the same everywhere in America, but it's like the food in Florida is very different from the food in New York.
Yep.
Right? It's like in New York, you got fucking, garbage plates. And in Florida, you got, I don't know what.
Well, we'll let that be. But
yeah.
So I grew up in like the white part of the Midwest in like very suburban area. So until I got to college, honestly, I had only ever had American style Chinese food and Mongolian inspired Chinese food. Because
Mongolian barbecue.
Yep, and just straight up.
I'm gonna guess that most of the places that had those foods in Michigan were places that were like Panda Express chain-ish places.
The Chinese food, yes. The Mongolian food was both chains, but there were also, for just reasons, in the area I live specifically, there was a lot of actual Mongolian food, like more than you'd expect.
You just happened to be near a neighborhood of Mongolian people.
Exactly. Kind of like how if you live in a certain part of Detroit, there's a lot of like really authentic Polish food, just like right there because there's a Poland town.
Yeah, or in New Jersey, there's like areas you can live in New Jersey where there's just lots of Indian food.
Yep. Right? And also, it's not like major cosmopolitan cities like New York City. You can get food from almost any region on Earth in that city. It's a weird case. Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
I liked Chinese food, but I didn't know a lot about it until college.
Yeah, so I, had family that, I was born in New York City, in Flushing, right? Even though I moved to Connecticut and I was like 1, right? But my family was New York people, right? Only my immediate family moved to Connecticut. The rest of my family, extended family, was still in, New York, right? New Jersey, etc., right? And no one ever left it was still very close we came to New York City often, right? So it's like Chinese restaurants are a thing in New York. There's like one on every block, basically, right? It's like you can't. And while they're all serving like mostly the same menu, kinda, right? With these same sort of repeating items that are mostly the same, each one's a little bit different.
Yeah, you can like anyone who lives in New York City has like a mental map of the standard American Chinese food places near them, and like they're ranked by like what's the good one, what's the one that's open late, what's the bad one to never be ordered from.
Yeah, so if you're in an area that's like outside of New York City, right, where there isn't a dense Chinese population, right, you're gonna get just that sort of Americanized Chinese restaurant, right? You're in Connecticut, we were in Beacon, we had one.
Yep.
Upstate, we had one. There were some in Rochester too, right? It's like they reach pretty far away from New York City, right? California has them, but the ones in New York are just like, there's a certain style to them. Like they have the same menu, right? They're all getting like their fortune cookies all come from this one factory. They're all in the same wrapper, right? It's like, the egg rolls, I think, are all you'll get like the same egg roll, like a lot of them, because I think they're like centrally manufactured, right? Some places are making their own, but it's like there's certain things that are just like the same at all these places.
Now, one sort of
different people.
One sort of side that I sort of remember from my childhood. The era of Uber Eats and Grubhub and all that stuff is relatively new to America. When I was growing up, there were really only two kinds of food that you could get delivered to a house in the suburbs. Pizza.
We didn't get delivered. We would order it on the phone, and then my dad would drive out and get it and bring it back.
We could get Chinese food delivered, and we could get pizza delivered, and nothing else.
I mean, I'm sure we could have gotten it delivered, but it's like we just didn't. We always went out to go get it.
But like Chinese food, American-style Chinese food and pizza were like the only two foods in my entire childhood that were commonly and easily ordered for delivery to your house.
Yeah, we would also, right? It's like some of the restaurants are clearly takeout or primarily takeout. Like they have a tiny little seating area.
Yep.
Right. But there were some that had seating, and like we would go and eat at them. The food wouldn't be any different, but it's like you would just go and do that.
We'd go eat at the Mongolian places, but I only really ate at Chinese restaurants regularly when we got to RIT, and we go to Chinagate pretty often late at night.
Well, most of the time we would eat at one would be on, Christmas, right? Where you go Chinese food movie situation, right? And you had more people, right? And then when you have more people and you go to one of these places, you could order and share instead of just getting the one entree for yourself, right? And that was nice.
So I guess in terms of the Chinese food I like jumping ahead to that, I think Szechuan cooking is my favorite regional type of food from that area. I like all Szechuan dishes just about. I like the Szechuan spices. That's my go-to by default, bar none.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you're talking, authentic Chinese food, which is available in New York City, right? In Chinatown and Flushing, in LIC, which is now becoming the third Chinatown.
Yep, right? There are already there are 5 Chinese restaurants near us I can think of that are authentic to specific regions, only opening in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, but it's like, if you're talking about the real Chinese food, it's like nothing beats the dim sum. The dim sum is the champion, right?
Of course, even that can have a lot of regional variation.
It does, but it's like it really doesn't matter which variation it is.
Yep.
It's like
my favorite
dim sum you've got.
My favorite style of dim sum, and I could not articulate in detail all the differences because I don't know, but in my experience, I have always particularly enjoyed what people will describe as Hong Kong style dim sum. It might be a byproduct of the fact that I've spent a lot of time in Hong Kong and I would go get dim sum there a lot. And it is different from the dim sum I get anywhere else, including the really authentic places like in New York City that we'd go to.
Well, sadly, the mega big, the Jin Fong.
Oh my God. I'm so sad about that.
Closed during the pandemic, that one. I went there many times.
I remember my first experience with dim sum was at RIT when Mike took us all out. And we went to the dim sum place in Rochester, and he ordered everything for us, and I'd never had that style of Chinese food before. And I remember being weirdly obsessed with the egg custard.
Yeah, I mean, well, that was also the first time I had it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, somehow Rochester just happened to have one or two of those places, right? And it's like, we didn't have that in Connecticut.
Yep, and if you've never been to one of those places, the way they're formatted typically, even in Hong Kong, they're formatted like this. Imagine a big banquet hall, like the kind of hall you go to for the school math awards or something, or like the band night or something like that, or a wedding. And it's just filled with tables. The tables are huge. They'll seat 8 to 16 people.
Like a circular table that has 10 plus seats at it, right?
And if you come in, they will just sit you down at a table with other people. And carts are just
you got 10 people and you can fill up the whole table.
And carts will just roll around and you basically just wave at people and flag them down and ask for specific dishes that you want. And at the end of the time when you're done eating, they will just come over and have a bill of all the food you ordered.
You missed the important part, is that on your table is a piece of paper, right? And so what they push carts around with food, and you look at the cart and you tell them which items from the cart you would like. And as soon as when they add items from their cart to your table, they pick up the piece of paper and they mark down that what your table has taken those items.
Yep.
And then when you're done, they look at that piece of paper and they see, which items you bought at which price points, and then they charge you, right? So you eat until you're not hungry anymore. So you never buy too much or not enough food with this situation.
Yep.
Right. The only difficulty is that like you might like see an item and get it, not knowing what it is or not liking it, or
which I was always down for. Because I didn't know about Chinese food when I first encountered dim sum, my philosophy was I will try anything. And I often did not.
If they're pushing it around and offering it to you, it's edible and someone likes it, so I might like it.
So I basically didn't actually learn the names of a lot of the dishes I would eat. I learned to recognize things I particularly liked, but I would just point at random stuff, and it was almost always great. And the few things that weren't.
It wasn't good. Why would they be pushing it around? They weren't trying to push around bad tasting food. Why would they do that? They're a restaurant. That doesn't seem like a good business idea.
I mean, I don't particularly like cartilage, and I don't particularly like intestines. Like, those are foods I don't like, but I have tried them at dim sum places, and sometimes I've even gotten them and not realized till it was too late. It was totally fine, just not my preferred dish.
The only downside is that, you might get some items, right? Whatever's getting come around, but then you won't realize like the full extent of what could be out there. And it's like, you learned like there are certain items after you go a few times, you like learn there's certain foods you really want. And it's like, if you just buy the first carts that come to you, you'll be full. And then later on, the cart with the thing you wanted comes. It's like, no, I'm full.
Yep, like the little sesame buns filled with red bean come around. Like,
right, like if you really want an egg custard, it's like, well, you better not fill yourself up before an egg custard cart appears, right? And will one appear? You don't know. Maybe there won't. Who knows, right? You might be able to. You can sometimes ask for items specifically too. There'll be like a waiter or waitress will come, and you can be like, I want this specific thing, right? And maybe there's no carts pushing that thing around, but someone will make it for you and bring it out anyway.
Yep. See, in dim sum, I pretty much any kind of shumai dumpling, like I don't even care what's in it. I'll just
Can't go wrong with anything that looks like a dumpling.
Anything that looks even remotely dumpling adjacent, I'll pretty much just eat, and it's always great.
Yeah. All right. So in terms of the Americanized takeout Chinese food, right? The go-to items, right? Is I got to have the wonton soup. I'm all about the wonton soup because with the wonton soup, you get the combo of dumplings and soup, right? It's not the soup dumplings, which is like a special item, right? That are hard to eat, and you can't really deliver those. And they're delicious, but they're also not. You can't eat those too often.
I usually throw my fried wonton strips, like those little guys, into my soup.
Yeah, that's what they're for. Yeah. But some places the wonton soup just isn't good, right? It's like the broth should be like really rich, right? And the wontons themselves should have like a lot of flavor. Sometimes like there's a bad place in our neighborhood, and it's like all their food doesn't taste like anything, but the wontons specifically, it's like they don't taste like anything. Like there's no flavor at all. The soup might as well be water.
Remember the time we were at Beacon playing Burning Wheel with the whole crew, and a bunch of our friends who weren't from the area went to the Chinese place that was across the street from Alex's apartment because they were like, well, it's close. How bad could it be? And they poo-pooed you and me, who went to the other place on the other side of town that had good Chinese food. And I remember I tried some of the food that they had all gotten, and it tasted like nothing.
Yep. It's like all these places, it's not like there are some chains like, Panda Express, but for the most part, like these places are not chains. They're all owned by different people, but they're sort of all operating from the same playbook, the same way that like laundromats, dry cleaners, these other sorts of small businesses, bodegas mostly operate from the same playbook with some amount of variation, right? But some of them, it's like wherever you live, you'll have a few of them, and you try them all usually, or you talk to people, and you find out. It's like, yeah, one of them's going to be better than the other one. Right?
Yep. I
know a particularly good one out in like Rego Park area of New York, right? Is my food here that quickly?
Hold on. Wow. Scott's got some Chinese food. So the listener has described soup dumplings as the heron spear of Chinese food, and I cannot disagree. I really like soup dumplings. I'll even eat like the chain soup dumplings because you really can't go wrong with them. Actually, I have So I was just
If
chatting.
you're curious how long it takes for Chinese food to be delivered, I click the button sometime during things of the day, like when things of the day were over and the food just got here. So that's how long it takes to click a button and get Chinese food in.
Yep, I'm not even editing that out. I was chatting with the listener. The listener said we were talking about soup dumplings in the chat. The heron spear of Chinese food.
Perhaps it is.
Well, because they're great, but they're only great if you get them fresh. Like if you don't eat a soup dumpling within about 45 seconds of it coming to your table, you're effed.
Yeah. It's like a special luxurious treat kind of deal.
At American Chinese places, I like the crab rangoon. Like I will eat that crab rangoon. That's something I actually specifically really like. Yeah. I like wontons, like pretty much any sort of wonton-y thing.
Yep. When it comes to the entree, I'll go for, the things that are really popular, right? It's like they're popular for a reason. The General Tso chicken, the sesame chicken with cashew nut.
Yep.
Some pepper beef kind of deal.
I'll do the pepper beef or like a lo mein. Lo mein's my main dish.
Yep. Any kind of noodle deal, fried rice deal.
Yep.
All that kind of stuff. I love the egg roll, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's just assumed. Like I just assume if I'm at a Chinese place, the egg roll came and I ate it already.
Yep. I like anything that's got like a big pile of vegetables, like water chestnuts and snow peas and all that biz. Tiny mushrooms and corns and all those guys, carrots, celeries, all that biz in there, right?
Yep.
Some kind of sauce. Any one of those is fine.
But really, in terms of more authentic Chinese food, I was thinking real hard during this whole show. It's hard to beat Szechuan for me, partly because that is the style of Chinese food that has the numbing spice, and there's a lot of like dried out fish type things, a lot of salt. Like it speaks to my oh God, I'm drooling. Literally just drooled. Fuck. I'm imagining that lamb we got a long time ago during Christmas.
Yeah. Well, the Szechuan one, places I've been to, it's usually they're less saucy, right? It's more like a dry spice kind of deal, right?
And I like dry spices generally. Like ribs, I like dry rub ribs.
Well, you want to talk about ribs? Is like that's the luxury item from the Chinese takeout place.
Oh yeah,
the spare rib. It's like we would get everyone would get entrees and we get like one little bag and it would be like a bag of spare ribs and in there would be like 4 little spare ribs and that's it. And everyone would get like one rib. It's like the special item from the takeout place is the spare ribs and it's like you could order spare ribs as like your meal and it's like whoa that's like that's a huge move there.
Maybe we just end there. We've actually gone pretty long, so maybe we just stop the show right there. End the stream.
Yeah, my food's getting cold now.
Stream is